Today I'm going to be talking about all of my writing projects that I'm currently working on. Firstly, I want to introduce Project BB. This is such an exciting project. It is the one I've been doing a lot of writing vlogs on. This is a single fantasy novel, so it doesn't have a huge series behind it. It's just a standalone. Currently, I'm sitting on 49k. I'm so close to 50k. So that is kind of where I am in my progress. So in a nutshell, this story includes a kingdom or the city, which is all full of like the rich people and the king and the prince. Whilst there's the minority group, which is basically the peasants of the kingdom, and they actually inhabit the ability to control magic. And that's why they're prejudiced against, and that's why the king is basically trying to literally drive them into extinction. And although the king holds this burning desire to control these people and to, you know, show them what their place is, it's actually the peasants who supply the goods that the kingdom needs. Although the magic that they did inhabit actually is forgotten basically, because there was a huge war like a few centuries ago where it was, you know, a war between the mages and the men won because of their huge population and because they basically outnumbered the mages. Ever since then, magic has basically become lost since it's been so enforced to not do magic. Because even if you sing a song that implies anything about magic, you are literally, you know, killed. And that's on the king. However, the story follows a girl named Robin, and she has become a thief, a self-taught thief to rob from the kingdom. Her parents had been killed by the king, and she finds thieving and, you know, robbing something from the castle and the kingdom and those rich people who stole everything from her kind of gives her a little bit of closure. However, as the story goes on, she ends up meeting the prince in one of her journeys to the castle. And on the way back from that encounter, she actually gets stopped by one of her friends who kind of question her of why she was out at night and why she was gone, you know, in the morning. And that's ultimately when Robin has no choice but to train her friends to rob from the kingdom. And this spirals into a unprecedented revolution, basically. So I say hello to Project BB. Next up we have Project GA, and this one is so good. It's still kind of in the planning process. I've started this novel and I believe I'm about 5k words in, but this story is again a fantasy, and I do hope it to be a standalone as well. This book also includes a huge world of magic, but the magic is based on different stones and minerals, and the story kind of is birthed, writer struggles. It sprouted, I don't know. It kind of starts from way back, way back, where this family called the Grey family, they were kind of chosen by stars during a meteor shower to inhabit this particular gift. And this gift, of course, was meant for them to protect the whole world population into the future. And this family ended up becoming multiple families, and it kept spreading and spreading until, you know, it spread across the world, and these secret mages were here to protect people from these monstrous creatures who came from the center of the earth. And these are very dark creatures. They build like tunnels in the earth, and they kind of reproduce and become from the center of the earth in terms of the core and its huge, like, you know, amazing energy that the world kind of produces from its hot lava. I don't know, it's just really hot in the center of the earth. So that's kind of how these dark creatures kind of give birth, and that center of the earth is actually a void from a different world. I don't know if I'm getting too abstract here. No, I don't know, it's just that. But this story follows a girl named Yvette, but initially she lives with her sick mother, and she lives like on the outskirts of, I think, Norway or something. Somewhere far away in the woods where no one can touch her. And she's always been super curious about magic and the whole idea of minerals and stones having these peculiar energies to translate into magic, even though she actually had never been told about magic. Her maid actually kind of gives her little hints about it, but her mother basically shuns everything to do with magic, and that was because her husband died from that big war that happened. But eventually her mother gets too sick to make rational decisions, and people from the academy, okay, there's an academy, I didn't explain that, but there's a huge academy which kind of is for the magic, and it's called Gemspell Academy, okay? Gemspell Academy. But the officials from Gemspell Academy ended up coming and taking Yvette to the school in order for her to get trained, because her descendants are actually a very well-known mage, even though she had no idea, because she got told by her mother that her dad died, you know, during a normal man war, when in reality he was actually a part of something a lot bigger that included the potential end of the earth. So she's recruited basically to go to this academy, and she ends up meeting a few people and kind of understanding this world that she'd been so, you know, protected from. That's kind of how it all goes down, and there ends up being a resurgence of, you know, these dark creatures, and the book kind of goes into more things about the world, about the past, about Yvette's, you know, past generations as well, and the origins of Gemspell Academy. And basically she makes some friends, and those friends and her end up trying to save the world. Next up is Project CZ, and this is probably my biggest project yet. It's a huge world, and it definitely is a fantasy, and I hope it to be a duology. But I'm halfway through the novel. I'm pretty sure I'm at 53k during this novel. I do have it planned out, yet it's still a big work in progress. So the project title kind of stands for the Lost City of Zeal, and the City of Zeal, this is gonna be so hard to explain. Okay, when you think about it, I'll try to like visualize it for you guys, but basically think of a huge city, a golden crusted city. It was inhabited by a god, and then it has it has 4 different cobblestone streets leading from it, and these cobblestone streets include portals which come from different worlds. And basically the City of Zeal is kind of like the world in between worlds, and that's where different kind of creatures from different worlds mingle, and they share each other's worlds basically. So as I mentioned, there is a god named Zeal, and he actually has a brother god, and that brother god is named Anrican. And what ended up happening basically in a nutshell is Anrican turned bad, he killed Zeal, Zeal died, and because Zeal died, when you think about it, these 2 gods came from one single god. So one single god splits into 2. If one dies, that one splits into 2 again. So there are 2 demigods somewhere in the world born out of fate and destiny. And during that time to when Anrican turned bad and Zeal was here trying to protect the city, Anrican ended up literally obliterating basically 3/4 of the existence and losing the portals to the worlds in almost every single street except one. And in that street happened to be the portal that led to the world of the mortals. And of course this story follows a character named Dell. Dell comes from, of course, the mortal realm, in which she is a human, and she actually trains and she hunts a lot, so she does, you know, have skills in the bow and arrow, so she's not completely incompetent like me. The story kind of takes place when her best friend Steelin and her finish school, so they finished their last year of school, and they are, you know, having a party at their school, and they're kind of like mucking about, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna ditch. So they end up going out during the night and riding their bikes back home. But what ends up happening is as Dell is riding and Steelin is riding, Steelin ends up disappearing from his bike. So Dell ends up stopping her bike and running toward where the bike is all crumpled and almost like disintegrated, and she's like, what the hell, like what is happening? She ends up getting led to an alleyway where she hears Steelin screaming and like screaming her name and stuff like that, until they come to the end of an alleyway and she sees what is holding him. It is kind of like a dark angel guy who's like looks half dead. That's kind of how I imagined him to look like. But he is basically like clutching Steelin's shoulders, and the angel kind of draws a portal and they disappear through it. And Dell's like, what the heck? surely this is a dream or something. They've took my best friend. I have to go find him. So she ends up sprinting through and jumping through the portal into the city of Zeal. It's extremely hard to put into words if you're not actually reading the book. But yeah, that's Project CZ. I did not explain that well. I'm so sorry. And last but not least, we have Project WW, and this one you probably already know the title of if you watched my vlogs, but it is called What Happens in Winterwood. And oh my gosh, I can just say that this book has 100% characters, 0 plot, and I kind of like almost imagine it as like a show or an anime or something like that, which every single chapter is like an episode. The story is, I don't even know, I think it could be a series, definitely. It's basically driven on romance. The whole kingdoms of the world actually just got out of a huge war against each other. Again, there's a huge war. And they are trying to rebuild it and kind of establish peace. And of course the king and queen died, so the 2 twin princes are led to kind of, you know, take charge and establish, you know, their connections and rekindle their relationships with their other kingdoms. However, these 2 twins actually have a younger brother who is a prince, and he's about 19 years old, and the 2 princes are actually required to go to the central city of the world in order to, you know, kind of help other kingdoms heal and to, you know, yeah, rekindle relationships and bring peace among the whole people. So that means they have to leave their prince at their kingdom. And these 2 princes actually end up coming up with a really cool idea in order to support their kingdom and support their younger brother, the prince, the 3rd prince, and to kind of strengthen their kingdom while they're away. I hope this is making sense. And they end up making a program in which they are to randomly choose 6 teenagers from the kingdom who are born of the age of the young prince. And these 6 chosen are to be kept in the castle, to be raised in the castle, taught, you know, royal etiquette, and to basically be like almost diplomats and supporters of the prince. And they end up becoming really good friends with each other. There's lots of drama and stuff like that within the kingdom. And one of the main reasons the 2 twin princes came up with this idea is to obviously strengthen not only their kingdom and kind of support the prince, but also to support the other kingdoms and to have ties with them. And that means basically that these 6 chosen are to be raised in order to be married off to other kingdoms. But what ends up happening is they all kind of end up falling in love with each other. Since there's so many characters, there's 7 including the prince, in the castle, you know, being taught social etiquette, royal dances and stuff like that. And since it's an era of peace, a lot of things is just really chill, and the biggest things is just drama, and that's what I love. And the reason that the 2 princes decided to do this program also was to choose the 6 chosen randomly. This was in order to kind of almost have a face to each different part and social class of their kingdom. And one of the quotes that I really like is when the 2 twin princes are talking and they kind of remember what their deceased father had said to them, and the father had said, "All blood is red," and that kind of almost means that royal blood means nothing. So that's why it was kind of their goal to turn into a democracy instead of, like, you know, the whole king, queen, princess, prince, yeah, but it's of course romance. No politics, just romance. Sorry, that is the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. It did take quite a while to get through all of them, but seriously, I'm not a good explainer. I cannot explain stuff for my life, especially if it's my own ideas, and especially when it's all modeled up in my little brain. And if you want to share your ideas down below, I would definitely love to read them. But anyways, I hope to see you in my next video. Bye! You, still for people.